you can look at Mount Weather, W-E-A-T-H-E-R. It is a underground facility that was built about 47 miles outside of Washington, D.C. in the 50s. And it houses the intention to incarcerate every single one of us with data collection and tracking and monitoring and sensors. So what you're hearing Edward Snowden say is not a new revelation at all. We were told in the Silent Weapons document exactly what they intended to do. They talk about wanting to know, and keeping in mind this was put together in the 40s, and it was adopted at the very first Bilderberg meeting in 1954 in the Netherlands. And they wanted to know back then, in the 40s, about each and every single one of you. The what, where, why, when, how, and who. They were going to look at general sources of information. They were going to look at telephone taps. This is in the 40s. Behavior of your children in school. They would know your friends, your associations, your political affiliation. They would know your personal paper trail because they would know your banking account statements, your credit card purchases. Everything was tagged and planned to be tagged back in the 40s with the Universal Product Code. This is no new news.
If Hitler had won World War II. But this is a very different America than the one we know.
We know the source of America's troubles.
In this America, technology is used to intimidate and control. Citizens are under constant surveillance by secret police.
From foreign influence.
Fascism is always dependent on repression. Secret police, some state control that tamps down any opposition.
Living under Nazi rule would be absolutely terrible. Then people act like it's all okay, but look deep into their eyes. They're absolutely miserable.
For nearly 70 years, they have used technological advances to control and oppress the population. The government-controlled internet is the newest weapon of mass deception. Social media promotes Nazi values.
It's important to remember that any innovation or any technology can be weaponized. The Twitter and Facebooks of the world can be corrupted and used in a totalitarian way for surveillance or whatever.
Today, totalitarian governments throughout the world use social media technology for surveillance and to control their populations.
When we look at China, for example, they have tens of thousands of people whose job it is to monitor what people are doing on the internet.
Then people act like it's all okay, but look deep into their eyes. They're absolutely miserable.
Now, I found it interesting when I listened to Bill Gates on TED Talk. And he said that the world has 6.8 billion people, and that's headed up to about 9 billion. Now he says, quote, "Now if we really do a great job on new vaccines and healthcare, reduction of health services, we could lower the number of people." Now, Bill Gates goes on to further say if he only had one wish, only one wish, he would want there to be 0 CO2 emissions by the year 2050. Now, we're all dead if that occurs because we need CO2. The plants survive, the earth survives, we survive. And the bulk of the population now believes the demonization of CO2 emissions, just like fossil fuels are dead, decaying dinosaurs. This is the Iron Mountain Report. It's a blueprint for tyranny. It came out of the 1960s. They commissioned experts to look at what the United States would look like if we should transition out of a time of war into a golden age of peace. And Kennedy was assassinated prior to the completion of this report. And when this report was given to Johnson, he said because of the content, it's never to be given to the American people. Well, a whistleblower leaked this document, and the government said it was a hoax. Our parents believed it was a hoax if they were not too busy to even know that it existed at the time. It's so important to understand this. And what is this? Well, the Iron Mountain report talks about how they were going to subvert education. Exactly what Orlean and others in this room have been fighting so hard against.
So this is a dovetail.
Listen, don't stand for this. Right? You're sitting here like cattle. You have questions. You confront them. They don't want to do it in public.
Okay, the next
Excuse me, buddy. Hey, this is America. This is not a CNN political debate. You're managing to go through water. Hey, that's right.
They needed something so horrific and so impactful that it would be believable globally and it would injure every single one of you, equal to the effects of war. So they decided that that needed to be invented, and they invented global warming. They said at the time that they would have to bring the ecology up to enough damage by damaging the ecology with the corporate structure. NASA and the corporations have damaged our world intentionally to seduce us into the false illusion that it's our fault, that we have to now believe in scarcity and we now have to rein in the population because there's too many of us.
We know more clearly than ever before that we carry common burdens, face common problems, and must respond with common action. And second, as we travel through space, as we pass one dead planet after another, we look back on our Earth, a speck of life in an infinite void.
Now, what is also very important is what Rothschild discovered about energy. He said he discovered there was a basic principle of power, influence, and control over people as applied in economics. The principle is very simple. Quote, "When you assume the appearance of power, people soon give it to you." So we've had a great many people assume the position of power. And because we have been intentionally kept very busy, we have given our trust to those that represent us, and they don't.